Hello everybody, are you ready to make some crafts with me? It is officially fall. It is my favorite season. I love fall. And I learned something interesting in that maybe you've heard the season of fall called autumn. I've always thought autumn is such a pretty, rich word. And autumn actually is what they would say, like it's British. So over in England, when they referred to this season, and autumn was tied in with harvest time, when it starts getting cooler outside, the leaves start turning, and then the leaves start falling off the tree, which is why pretty soon we just started calling the season fall. But I also love the richness of the word autumn because I feel like it gives us this picture of all of the changing colors, the beauty of the change of seasons, and God does amazing things in nature during the fall, doesn't he? So let's do some crafts together. And the first one we're going to do here, have you guys seen this beautiful corn? Maybe you've grown some, maybe you've decorated with it. I remember my mom had some big ears of this calico corn that we used to decorate our table with at Thanksgiving. So pretty, all of those beautiful colors. And this is a flint corn instead of like the sweet corn that you eat. It's super hard and dry. It's a type of maize that has been a part of our world for forever and ever, it seems, because even when the explorers came over, our brothers and sisters and the Native Americans or the Mayans down in Mexico, they had this beautiful corn. So we're going to make our own calico corn, but we're going to make it with beads. All right, so let's make some calico corn with beads. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some pipe cleaners, and then you're going to need some beads. I have pony beads here, but any beads that would fit on a pipe cleaner would work. And you want to use a pipe cleaner because it won't work with string because the wire in the pipe cleaner helps it hold together. So you're going to take 4 pipe cleaners, and then you're going to just kind of make sure that they're nice and even. And then we're going to do a twist. We're going to do a twist so that they're stuck together, and now we're going to spread out all of these. All right, we're going to spread out all of those. So now we've got all of our different strands to bead to make our calico corn. Now I'm going to show you, instead of you watching me just put beads on forever and ever and ever, I'm going to show you one that I started here. Okay, so here's one that I started. And can you see that I've just been putting these beads on randomly? Now you can pick whatever colors you want to do. You could do blues and purples and pinks. You could do greens and yellows. I looked for some different type of autumn colors, but then you're just going to randomly put them on. I ended up putting about 15 beads on each strand here, just so that they're pretty even. But if we get a little bit off and we don't count, it's okay. But we're just going to kind of put on a design here that we think would look pretty, our different autumn colors. So what do you see in color changing maybe around your house? One of the things when I grew up in Minnesota is I remember the trees in my neighborhood were super, super big, and they would turn beautiful red and orange and yellow, and it would almost be like the trees were overlapping at the top, almost making a tunnel when you would walk or drive through the neighborhood. And so it became like this mysterious, magical feeling to see all of those beautiful leaves and just the light glistening through them. We had to rake a lot of leaves too, which is something I haven't had to do a lot living here in South Dakota. For one, we don't have as many trees in our yard as when I grew up in Minnesota. We don't have as many trees. We have a bunch in a ditch in a gully next to our house, but the leaves, it's so windy, they just blow away. So we either go over them with a lawnmower or we just let them blow away and become mulch for someone else's yard. But what about your yard? What else do you see changing colors? Maybe you've gone on a walk with your family, or even you notice on your drive to school or church that the colors are starting to change. Is it just trees that change color? What about our grass? Is our grass pretty dead looking? It's kind of going into its hibernation. Because what else are we noticing? Is it as sunshiny and bright all the time now? No, the sun is coming up later and later. and it's going down earlier and earlier, and so it becomes this cozy time for hibernation. The animals are scurrying about, getting ready for winter. Maybe the birds are flying south, but it's just this change of seasons reminds us of the changes that God does in our lives and the beauty He has for us in nature. So I've got beads on all of my strands here, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to lift them and gather them all up at the top, because we're making our cob of corn. So we're going to grab all of our strands of pipe cleaner up at the top, and now we're going to do another couple of twists just to hold it together. So another couple of twists, and then we can kind of fluff and arrange as we need to, in case some get twisted more than others. But there's my cob of corn, my calico corn. And that's so fun. So one of the things I was thinking about is these would be so pretty, like on a Sabbath table, like on your table, if you put people's names, or like at Thanksgiving, if you have a pretty table setting with a cornucopia, or different decorations, or a different name card for everybody at the table. Maybe your family likes to go around and share things that they're thankful for in the harvest season. And these are another one that just show us, look at all the beauty that comes in the changing colors, just like our calico corn. So there is our calico corn craft. The next one we're going to do here is, how many of you guys have gardens? Do you guys have gardens, and do you do anything to keep those pests out of the garden? Well, we're going to make a little bit of a scarecrow here. Sometimes we see scarecrows out in the fields. They were used more commonly back before fences, maybe, trying to keep the birds or the deer out of the garden, but now they're a fun decoration too, so they're multi-purpose. So here's what you're going to do is you're going to take some popsicle sticks. I've got 10 popsicle sticks here. You're going to line them up, and then you're going to take 2 more popsicle sticks, and I cut the ends off because mine was you can make your scarecrow a little bit bigger if you didn't want to chop yours, but I chopped it and then I glued it onto the back to hold it all together. So I did that step already. And then what you're going to do is you could use a marker, or I've got some paint here. We've got to give our scarecrow a hat, and we're going to give him a lopsided hat. So let's make sure you can see here. We're going to go sideways with our hat here. So we're going to paint that, but again, you could use a marker. Colored pencils and crayons wouldn't be as dark, but those would work too. So whatever you have to add some color, and it doesn't have to be orange. It could be whatever color you wanted, but we've got to give our scarecrow a hat. So they used to, right? So a scarecrow, what does that actually mean? Well, it was to scare the crows away. And so they'd make it look like a farmer, maybe wearing overalls and a hat or something, stuff it full of corn. So here's the first part. Beforehand, so that it had time to dry, I painted 1 more popsicle stick orange, and that's going to be the brim of our hat. So we're going to grab some glue. You could also, with an adult's help, use some hot glue, but this one just requires a little more weighting with the liquid glue. We're just going to put a little bit of glue on. And then we're going to give our scarecrow the brim of his hat, and we're going to make it crooked, just kind of crooked and kittywampus. Then I've got some googly eyes to give my scarecrow, but you could draw eyes too. You could draw some eyes for him. So we got to give our scarecrow some eyes here, so that he's watching, making sure no crows are coming and eating our calico corn in the garden, right? And then maybe like a flower or a fluff, like my pom-pom here for his hat. So we'll stick that on there too. Now, he needs a nose. Now you can make a nose with felt or paper or pipe cleaner, but maybe I'm just going to try and just draw here. I'm going to give him a triangle nose here and just make it a lighter orange. So we're just going to give him a nose there. He's coming together, don't you think? And finally, he needs a smile. Don't you think our scarecrow needs a smile? So we're gonna give him a smile here. And then they used to use thread and like they would almost do the sewing seams, right? Almost kind of like embroidery to kind of tack that thread on there in a smile. So that's kind of why we gave him those little marks, kind of like a crooked grin. Now the last thing I think he needs is some hair. He needs some funky, whoop, losing that while my glue dries. He needs some funky hair. Actually, maybe I'll leave that off while I put the hair on. So I'm gonna flip him over. I'm gonna flip him over, being careful because I do have that glue and stuff. And I took some yarn. Okay, you could use yarn, string, ribbon, whatever you wanted. And I'm just gonna lay this across the side here, and I'm gonna tape a bunch of Scarecrow hair on. Kind of almost reminds me of Raggedy Ann and Andy, if you know who those characters are. All right, so we're just gonna tape on this wad of hair, and then he needs hair on the other side too, or he or she. We can choose. I'm gonna give some hair here. Make sure that's attached. All right, and then we'll put our pom-pom back on here. And he needs to dry a little bit, but here we've got our Scarecrow. Here's one that I made earlier, and you can kind of see I used a pipe cleaner for his nose there, and I used a different type of colored yarn, but you could make it out of whatever you wanted, but just kind of, again, a fun little decoration for autumn with our scarecrows as we think about harvest time. Man, have you been seeing the combines out everywhere? All right, our last one is one that we can do a couple of different ways. I'm gonna move this out of the way. We can do this a couple of different ways, but both of them, regardless, start with us drawing a tree. So I've got a piece of cardstock. You can use construction paper, and we've got to start by drawing a tree trunk. Okay, so can we draw with my marker here a tree trunk? And then maybe I'm just going to have a branch come up like this and branch off. And I'm going to color this in quick. But we just have to give ourselves a tree here with its branches, and then we're gonna fill in the leaves in a couple of different ways. So making my tree. We have some really pretty aspen trees in our gully by our house, and they're a beautiful yellow. Sometimes we see some trees that are orange. We're gonna make this tree all of the fall colors because why not? That's what being creative is all about. We can mix and match. Sometimes the beautiful maple trees are red, but we don't have any maple trees by our house. I want to plant some. All right, so we're just giving ourselves a tree. What do you think? Does this look like a good treehouse tree? Okay, so then we're gonna fill it in. We're going to fill it in, and there's a couple of ways you can do this. All right, so for those of you who want to do some finger painting, I've got my paint here with some different fall colors. Now you can use your finger and just give us some leaves. Leaves, leaves, leaves. All the leaves. I'm going to grab tissue here, wiping off my finger in between, and then we could do some different colors, and we can overlap. Now, if you didn't want to use your finger, you could use a cotton ball too. Let's see, what other color do we want to add? Some red. All of these leaves. Maybe I want some falling down. And there's my pile that I had to rake as a kid. Maybe some gold. And some orange. Oop, that one was a little gloopy. We just get to fill in. And doesn't it turn out cool as the paint starts to mix and we get all of these pretty leaf colors, just like when you see sometimes the leaves in motion as they're turning their colors for the winter. Okay, so this is one option to fill in your tree. I'm going to show you the other option now, and it's with a technique called paper quilling. Paper quilling. So instead, I've got some cardstock here in my fall leaf colors. And I'm just going to cut myself some strips. Let's actually go this way. So we're going to cut ourselves some strips. And you're going to end up making a lot of these, but I'm just going to show you a couple. Many as you want for leaves. So I'm going to make, doesn't matter if it's a skinny strip or a thick strip. Oop. All right, now these are too long, so then we're also going to cut them in half. Okay, so it's about a little bit, probably your hand size is your strip. So we're going to cut those in half. So sometimes people will do paper quilling, which is where almost like you're twirling the paper, and you can make beautiful, beautiful artistic creations out of this. If you look up images with the help of an adult on YouTube or on Google, there's some really, really amazing ways that people will make things by paper quilling. And so I'm going to take like a skinny end of a paintbrush. You could use a pen, whatever you want. And I'm just going to twist and start twirling and twist my paper on there. Twist, 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 and you're going to hold it really tight. And then when I take it off, you see how it stays in a spiral? It stays together. And so that's our paper quill. All right, so we're just going to do that with some of these here, and we're just going to twist, 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 twist. So this one's probably easier for some of you who are a bit older. So twist, twist, twist. And again, you can make a lot of different things paper quilling, so you'll have to look up like on Google Images and see some of the ideas, because people are so creative with what they make by just quilling pieces of paper. Okay. Those of you who are in Pathfinders, there is a paper quilling Pathfinder honor. So if this is something that interests you, or even if you don't have a Pathfinder club, you can look up the requirements for it and pursue learning about paper quilling, and then you can also get an honor patch for it, which is pretty cool. All right, so we've twirled these all. Got one left here. So then we're just going to take our tree outline. Okay, so I'm going to show you on this one here. This would be if you hadn't put fingerprints all over it. So rather than me taking the time to draw another tree, we're just going to use this one. And I'm going to put some glue in a dish here. So I'm just going to give myself a pile of glue. Okay, so I've got a pile of glue. I'm going to take my quill now, and I'm just going to dip it in the glue. I'm just going to dip it, and then we're going to place it on our tree like we're putting leaves on our tree. So we're going to just dip in our glue and place it. Dip in and placing. And you would just keep going and going and going. Just building out your tree. Okay, so I'm going to show you one that I did earlier here. And you can see I've got all of my paper quills glued on there, and I've got some leaves falling off the tree, but it makes it 3D, right? It pops off the page. It's three-dimensional. And you could make these with smaller pieces of paper so that they're tighter. You can make it with bigger. You can be very creative with how you choose to do this. So you could make your fall tree with your fingerprints and paint. You can make it with paper quilling. All right, well those are our fall craft projects. All of them reminding us of the beauty of autumn, from our Calico Corn to our scarecrows in the garden to our autumn trees with the leaves falling, or with the paper quilling. And I hope you enjoy these crafts and can use them as a way of appreciating all that God has done in these changing seasons. When the leaves start turning, we just get to celebrate God. What an amazing God that He has given us beauty like autumn, with the beautiful leaves, the colors everywhere. It's a different season of life, and it's one where we can go, God, what are you going to do with my life this season? And so be thinking of that as you are making these beautiful autumn crafts, and I'll see you next time.